My name's Daniel Carter, and I've always been the kind of guy who believes in loyalty, old-school values, the type you'd find in your grandfather's generation. I grew up in Ohio, the son of a steel mill worker and a high school English teacher. I knew what love looked like. I saw it in the way my dad used to bring my mom coffee every morning, in the way she would fold his shirts and smile like she had the best man in the world. I carried that with me my whole life, and when I met Amanda, I thought I had found the same kind of love story. Amanda and I met at a college alumni event in Chicago. She had this laugh that made you feel like the world was less heavy, and eyes that told you she saw right through the noise. I was working in logistics for a shipping company at the time. She was teaching 3rd grade and had a heart like a lighthouse, bright and warm and guiding people in the dark. We dated for 2 years, got married in the fall under maple trees turning gold, and bought a house with a wraparound porch. It wasn't a fairy tale, but it was solid. It felt like home. For the first few years, we were everything. We had slow Sunday mornings, coffee on the porch, pizza nights, road trips with playlists that matched the season. We fought, sure, but we always came back to the center, like magnets. Until one day, I noticed she wasn't coming back. Not all the way. It started small. Subtle shifts. Her phone was always face down, and she suddenly had a password on it. She'd stay up late texting in the kitchen or take long walks by herself. When I'd ask who she was talking to, she'd shrug it off, just Becca, or a parent from school. I didn't push at first. Everyone needs space, right? But the space kept growing. One night, around midnight, I got up for a glass of water and saw her sitting in the living room, staring at her phone, smiling. That smile, it wasn't just casual. It was the kind of smile you give someone who makes your heart flutter. She didn't see me. And something inside me cracked. The next day, I asked her directly, "Are you talking to someone?" She didn't lie. Amanda wasn't the lying type, at least not in the traditional sense. She sighed, sat down at the edge of the bed, and said, "It's just a friend. We talk. He understands things you don't." That sentence stuck in my chest like a splinter. I asked who he was, and she told me his name was Travis. He was a fellow teacher from a conference she attended over the summer. "We've never met up," she added quickly. "It's just emotional. That's all. Not physical." And like that, she drew a line in the sand and stood behind it. But for me, that wasn't a line. It was a cliff. I know there are people who think emotional affairs are harmless. That if no clothes come off, there's no damage. But let me tell you something from a man who's lived it. Your heart can cheat just as much as your body, and sometimes it hurts even more. I started unraveling after that. I couldn't look at her the same. I wondered every time she laughed if it was meant for him. Every time she hugged me, I questioned if she was imagining someone else. It wasn't jealousy. It was grief. I was mourning the version of us that had existed before Travis. I tried talking to her. I asked her to stop. I told her it was hurting me. Amanda said I was overreacting, that she needed someone to talk to, and Travis just got her in ways I didn't anymore. She said it wasn't cheating, because they hadn't kissed, hadn't touched. That I was making this into something ugly when it wasn't. But it was ugly. It was tearing us apart. I started going on long drives at night just to clear my head. Sometimes I'd pull over and scream into the steering wheel. Other nights I'd end up parked in front of the lake, wondering what I was supposed to do, fight for her, or walk away. The turning point came one Saturday. We were supposed to go to her parents' house for dinner. She was in the shower, and her phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. I don't usually check her phone, but something told me to. I opened it. The lock screen showed a message from Travis. It said, "Last night was incredible. I can't stop thinking about you." I stood there for what felt like forever. I read it over and over. I don't know if they actually met or if it was fantasy, but it didn't matter anymore. She had crossed the line she swore she never would. When she came out of the shower, wrapped in a towel, humming a song, I handed her the phone. "Explain this," I said. She froze. Her smile faded. Her shoulders slumped like someone had pulled the strings from a puppet. She didn't deny it. She just whispered, "I didn't mean for it to go that far." I walked out of the house without grabbing my coat. Drove to my brother's place and crashed on his couch. I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling and thought about every single moment we had built together, our wedding, our first apartment, the time we built the backyard fire pit, all of it, and wondered when it had started to rot. Amanda called the next day, crying. She said it wasn't what I thought. That they met up once, but it wasn't physical. That she just needed connection. That she felt lonely. That I had pulled away first. That she was sorry. But it didn't matter anymore. Because even if she was telling the truth, even if they hadn't touched, my trust was gone. My heart was no longer in it. And I knew, deep down, that I would never be able to look at her and not see him. I told her I was done. She begged me to try therapy. She wanted a chance to fix it. I said no. Not because I didn't love her, but because love without trust is like a house built on sand. Sooner or later, it crumbles. The divorce was quiet. No lawyers clawing at each other. No screaming. Just two people dividing a life in half. She kept the house. I moved into an apartment downtown with brick walls and creaky floors. I took only what I needed, my books, my clothes, and the photo of my parents on their 30th anniversary, smiling like they'd never known heartbreak. It's been 2 years now. I've dated a bit, nothing serious. I go to the gym. I cook my own meals. I read more than I used to. I see a therapist twice a month, mostly to unpack things I never said out loud during my marriage. And I've learned this: forgiveness isn't always about giving someone else a second chance. Sometimes it's about letting go so you can breathe again. I don't hate Amanda. I honestly hope she's happy. I hope Travis turned out to be more than a fantasy. But I don't want to know. That part of my life is a closed book now. I used to think emotional cheating wasn't real, that it was a made-up term for people who couldn't handle their partner having friends. But now I know better. It's real. And in some ways, it's worse than the physical kind. Because it means someone gave their soul to another person while you were sleeping right beside them. If you're reading this and going through something similar, let me tell you, you're not crazy for feeling betrayed. You're not weak for walking away. You're not cold for choosing peace over pain. I chose myself when I walked away. I chose to stop bleeding for someone who didn't think the wound was real. And that, more than anything, is what saved me.